Hello, Blue Jays fans. Welcome to episode 244 of the Jays from the Couch radio podcast, brought to you by, of course, jaysfromthecouch.com. I'm your host, as always, Sean Doyle. You can follow me on Twitter at JFtC. We've got a great episode for you this week. We're coming at you live on our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, and, of course, on Twitter, all of which is, of course, a day late. We meant to stick to our regular time, Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, where we stream live every week, every episode of the Jays from the Couch radio podcast. However, we had some technical difficulties, which I'm sure you'll hear me complain about at some point this evening. But we've got a good show. We're back. Happy New Year to everybody out there. We're back for another week and another year of podcasting. That sounds daunting, so we'll just take it 1 week at a time. But we've got a great episode. We'll talk about some Blue Jays off-season swings and misses. Man, they're striking out. Or at least so it seems. We'll get into that, and we're going to bring back an old segment that we used to do. I love it. We're going to have some fun with it. Our hot takes are coming at you this week as well. To help me do all of this, I've got Jays from the Couch writer Karen Sutar. Good evening to you.
And good evening, Sean.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
All right, thank you very much. And, of course, the feckless wonder, Steve Fichetti, Jays from the Couch writer, Steve Fichetti. He's... Oh, man.
I wanted to work it out in advance so that, Karen always has the respect Toronto shirt, so I have to make sure that I worked through everything before that, so I can try to be a voice of reason below the 49th parallel.
That's right. And before we even get into everything here, I think it's actually kind of fortuitous that both of you are on joining me again this week, because sometime in the new year here, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be branching out our YouTube channel to offer some more different types of content or broadcasting, if you will. It sounds so official when you say broadcasting, so we'll go with that. But I don't know what's going on, but it hit me one day, hey, we need some more shows on our Jays from the Couch YouTube channel. Make it like an actual channel, right? So Karen and Steve, both, you will be taking on a project of your own. Perhaps it might be, I'm kind of putting you on the spot because I don't think you were expecting this, but it might be a good time to maybe just let everybody know what it's all about. And Karen, why don't we start with you, your show? Give us a little snippet preview type thing.
Right. Yeah. So what we all decided on somewhat collectively was called Sunny Side of the Dome. So all about the Toronto Blue Jays. And I myself, while I try to be a realist, my slant tends to be on the positive side. So if you want a little bit of what's new, what's going on with the Blue Jays at that particular time, and that wherever possible, if they're not mired in a 7-game losing streak or whatever, that I'll probably have at least some positive things to say, then give it a listen.
Well, and what I really like about it, Karen, is that even if they're in a 7-game losing streak, you manage to still find some silver linings on the darkest of clouds. So it'll be a welcome addition to our channel. So I'm looking forward to it. We're working out a day and a time that works for everybody, of course, but all of our viewers and listeners and everything can watch for that as well. And Steve, I'm giving you your own show, The Feckless Wonder. I'm giving you your own show. Let everybody know what it's all about.
And just when you start feeling good and warm and fuzzy about things Blue Jays, you can go to the on-fec circle, where I'm going to ruin everybody's day, rain on everybody's Blue Jay parade. And basically, I'm going to try to take a different tact. I tend to not fall in with the analytics crowd and with the, things are good and we've got money and things are going well. If things aren't going well, I've never been shy about saying that it's not going well. But now the good news is I did, since we had the show not be on last night, I did reach out to Ross Atkins because he's not doing anything right now. So I was able to pre-record an interview that will debut on the first episode from the On-Fec Circle. So
I can't wait for that. I guarantee you it'll be just crickets. That's what the audio you're going to share with everybody.
This is my my model, my Ross Atkins. It'll have googly eyes eventually, and we'll also have a Charlie Montoya sock puppet. So budget be damned. It's going into my pocket. We're going to make sure that we bring you one interesting show.
Pocket or sock drawer, whatever it takes. We're pulling out all the stops. And in all seriousness, no, I think this will be a really good thing for Jays from the Couch. And of course, any fan of the Toronto Blue Jays, a weekly show, one positive, one highlighting some achievements and things like that. And then of course, one with a completely different slant. And I think for me personally, I think that's going to be good watching, as they say. So I'm looking forward to that. And both of you, thank you for joining me this week. You know, we've got an off season going on here. I mean, it's kind of easy. Oh, wow. Now listen, I listen, I'm going to just bring this guy in here just for a moment. We just had a reader or a watcher viewer comment here. Steve Ferracci, big old jerk himself, asks if we're looking for a shortstop. What a great place to start this conversation. Actually, Steve, I'll have you know that, and we'll talk about you here, Steve. In fact, I tried to get you on, but we had technical difficulties yesterday. But we're going to get you on, Steve, and we're gonna get you talking about your little newest shortstop. Steve Ferracci, of course, is a Mets fan, covers the Mets, and does an excellent job of it. And he's also a big time jerk because he loves to rub it in that the Toronto Blue Jays struck out on Francisco Lindor. But to answer Steve's question, are you guys looking for a shortstop? The answer is no. Actually, as a matter of fact, we are not looking for a shortstop. We have one. His name is Bo Bichette, best hair in the league. Suck on that, Steve. Actually, Karen, well, let's throw it to you right now. We'll bring in Steve's question here with the whole Lindor thing. You're not that upset about it at all, really, are you?
No, I'm not. And I wrote something a while ago about all of the reasons, in my opinion, why it just wouldn't have been a good fit to bring Lindor over to the Jays, as good a player as he has been. I mean, the timing and everything and what it would cost them, or what it looked like it was going to cost them in terms of players and so forth. But now am I holding on to the hot take for now? Or
oh, yeah, no, hold on to that. Hold on to that, Jim. Yeah.
All right. But yeah, no, just to sum up, I don't think it's going to be that terrible a thing that the Jays weren't the winners of the Lindor sweepstakes. So,
Well, and for me personally, he's one of my favorites to watch play. Right, but it's the smile, and he's kind of good. So when the idea that Toronto could possibly be in the hunt and pull off a deal to bring him in, I was willing to move Bo Bichette somewhere, to move Kevin Biggio somewhere, because a Francisco Lindor doesn't come around all the time, right? So I was willing to do that. And I don't know what happened. I think I just let myself get carried away with, oh my God, this could be the off season where they have money and they have needs and they have, and I'm being told they're being aggressive. And
they do. Yeah.
Well, so there we are. Right. So Steve, Francisco Lindor deal. Are you before you get into the real meat and potatoes of what you're going to say, but are you all that upset about Francisco Lindor not playing in Toronto?
I'm not upset about Lindor not playing in Toronto. What could he be an invaluable addition? Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's a terrific player. But had it just been Francisco Lindor, I'd have been like Karen. I'd have been like, well, it'd have been nice, but that's okay. We've got Bo and got other things allegedly going on, so that's fine. But then, and the alert I get on my phone at first, it's from Ken Rosenthal's little things, and it says, "Oh, Francisco Lindor traded to the Mets." I'm like, "Great!" So I go downstairs, put on MLB Network, and there on the screen says Francisco Lindor and Carlos Carrasco. And Carlos Carrasco, the number 2 starter that the Blue Jays, more than anything, need to add if they are truly going to win the AL East. And they still got the same thing of Jack and the Beanstalk magic beans. I mean, Jimenez is, I think he's going to be a shortstop in the league for a long time. Rosario, he's okay. The 2 prospects, both, back-to-back number 2 picks, okay, that's fine. But Carlos Carrasco, and living here, in the States and living very close to Cleveland, so I could pick up Cleveland sports radio, all along, the whole time, Antonetti was telling teams, you're going to have to pick up another contract if you want Lindor. And the list of people was made very clear. I'm sure, Chris Antonetti's buddies with Ross Atkins and Shapiro going back to the Cleveland days. So I'm sure Carlos Carrasco's name came up. Now, I saw Steve Rossi say Cookie. Maybe Ross thought it was Cookie Rojas. I don't know. But it was Carlos Carrasco. They could have gotten him and actually given the Indians a better package without really damaging the system. And they whiffed.
That's right. And I mean, so think about this. I'll get to you in a second, Karen. I just want to throw back to remember the Marcus Stroman deal, right? And everybody was like, okay, well, we've got the Mets number, whatever prospects, but it's the Mets system. So, you got to kind of play it a little loosely when you're talking about where they rank in their system, in Anthony Kay and Simeon Woods Richardson. But here, a year later, during 2020, COVID and all of that stuff, and it's not like their system got any better. And then they end up with a package of Lindor and Carrasco, which just... it's hard to take. But I think in isolation, I can be okay with it. But and we'll talk about the bigger picture here in a bit. But Karen, you were waiting patiently and kindly, so I appreciate that.
So when you say there, Steve, about what the Jays could have done, and there's all kinds of news out there on social media and this and that, and while you don't completely know what's true and what's in the imagination of some media person, it did say that the Jays were, quote unquote, the runner-up in the Lindor sweepstakes, and that they put together a package that was thought to actually be higher in value than the ones that ultimately got the Mets the 2 players. But that with the Jays, they were focusing on prospects, whereas with the Mets, it was a combination of MLB-ready players and prospects. So I just, friendly debate as always. That the Jays could have. Well, the Jays tried to, and it sounds like they made a really significant offer. And if it wasn't because the Mets, they were the ones, or sorry, not the Mets, Cleveland, they were the ones in the driver's seats, because they were the ones ultimately making the decision with multiple offers. And if they decided that we need some MLB ready guys now, and that's what they were offered, then...
Listen, I have a long list of MLB ready players.
Mets got the sweet deal for Lindor and Cookie.
Yep. I have a long list of MLB ready players that I would gladly drive to Cleveland myself. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I've got a handful, but I mean, if they wanted someone to step in, and if we're trading away our shortstop, who do we have that we could have sent them to play shortstop? Santiago Espinal? I'd like
Mhm.
Espinal. He hardly has any experience. Like, would they have accepted that?
They accepted
I don't know.
Jimenez. Jimenez was at Double A in 2019. He won the job. They have outfielders. They have Jonathan Davis. They have Derek Fisher. Cleveland desperately needs outfielders. I honestly, God, I'm waiting for them to sign 88-year-old Rocky Colavito to try to play right field because they just don't have major league ready outfielders. I mean, the Blue Jays had all of the ingredients. Okay. And I'm sure there had to be something they could blackmail Antonetti with. There had to be. They worked together for 15 years. Whatever it takes. Okay. Okay. Steve Parashi being from New York, he appreciates that kind of negotiation. Okay. Yes. The Blue Jays absolutely, I'm sorry, they absolutely could have gotten it done.
Yeah.
And I don't think they did. I don't think they went that extra mile and said, okay, you need major league ready players. I think they just tried to keep it with the prospects and kept breaking out their baseball American and say, look,
Right.
we have the fifth ranked, in baseball. Look at all these great prospects. I think Ross Atkins spit the bit, flat out spit the bit.
Well, and I think I would tend to agree because I agree that there's no reason why Toronto should have been outbid in that deal. However, I think it points to the bigger issue that's going on this offseason. Because if you add up all of the swings and misses, it's worse than Kevin Pillar up in here. You know what I mean? Like it's just ridiculous. The Blue Jays are swinging outside the strike zone and they don't even care what it looks like. And everybody in the stadium knows it's a ball and it's 6 feet outside of the strike zone and Toronto's still swinging. Anyway, they're striking out. And I think if you add it all up, you've got missing out on Sagano in Japan, and for the only reason that I've seen is that he didn't want to compete against Shun Yamaguchi. Are you kidding me? Has he seen that man pitch for Toronto? He's not in the rotation.
Well, but see, he has, and as a fan of NPB and watching it for many, many years, Yamaguchi is a revered guy. He mentored Sagano even as Sagano started to surpass him. And that in Japanese baseball plays a much larger role than you would think. You would think it's more of a caricature kind of deal, but that's very, very real. And now, of course, Ross could have come up and said, well, really, we're going to use him as a reliever. That shouldn't be an issue in there. But Ross probably didn't think that far ahead. Okay. Or think about, or downplayed how big a thing that really would be. Because, not only were Yamaguchi and Sagano, friends and teammates, they're on the Yomiuri Giants. They are the New York Yankees. They are the Dallas Cowboys, what Montreal Canadiens of Japanese professional baseball. So it's a whole other, level of, respect and reverence and just diehard devoted fans that played into that decision. I'm sure it's really more money that he wasn't going to get the money. I forget the kid's name in Seattle. He wanted the same amount of the kid that signed in Seattle a couple of years ago. Kikuchi, who got like 4 for $56, and everything that I read wasn't even close as far as what was being offered to Sagano. So I'm sure that played a lot too, but it wouldn't surprise me. I don't think that's totally out of the realm. That might have just been a polite way of saying, I don't want to pitch in Dunedin, but.
Well, I think that's really what I guess I'm saying here is that because I totally get, having spent some time over in Asia myself, I get that what he's saying, there's validity and truth to it. I guess what I'm saying is that can't be the reason you don't sign, especially when you have to have an idea that Shun Yamaguchi is not a starter in Toronto, right? Like you have to know that, and maybe it very well could be that Ross Atkins never knew that was the reason, like who knows? But again, it points to a target that the Toronto Blue Jays were rumored to be in on. and a finalist for. Like the Toronto Blue Jays are going to get a silver medal for the winter, right? They're finishing second to everybody. So, and we could go through that long list. The San Diego Padres in one day made themselves instant contenders against the Dodgers. And then the Mets, of course, you knew that was going to happen, that they were going to do something big because all of a sudden they've got money. Sorry, Steve Faraci, but it's still the Mets. So, have fun. But what is it this season about Toronto? You have, and I'm going to lay it out here. They've got money, ton of it. They've got prospect capital. They've got an excellent system. In my mind right now, I see no reason why the Toronto Blue Jays are striking out at such a rapid rate. So Karen, I'll throw it to you, but what is it in your mind do you think is behind the Blue Jays striking out here? Because there could be a number of things, and I could list a number, but I'll throw it to you first.
Right. I mean, it's so many things, and you have to look at each instance on a case-by-case basis. I mean, the Blake Snell trade, well, we don't know to what extent, if at all, Tampa Bay was willing to consider trading within the division to another team that could be somewhat of a serious competitor over the next couple of years. So there's that. We know that Darvish had a limited no trade clause, and we believe Toronto was one of his teams that he didn't want to go to. And because ultimately, if he refused to waive that clause, then the Jays' hands were tied. There's nothing else they could have done. So, I mean, again, you look at each of these situations, and it seems to be something like maybe that's my bias in looking at it. I think it really looks like they did try or could have tried, and a lot of things were out of their hands. The other thing you have to remember, and this is a little stat that I heard not all that long ago, by this time in the off season, normally the amount that has been spent across MLB is about 10 times what has currently been spent this offseason. I mean, I understand the frustration and the disappointment, and there's a big part of me that wishes that Shapiro and Atkins had kind of kept their trap shut rather than getting all the fan base all excited, because they've got to know they're not idiots and they're not new to this business. They know that it always takes two to tango. So if you want to make trades, the other team has got to be willing to trade who you want and accept who you're giving back. And then there's a third party in the case of someone like Darvish. If there's a no trade clause involved, if you want to sign a free agent, the free agent has to want to sign with you, and then you have to be able to come to terms. But all is not lost. There are all kinds of quality players that are still out there, tons of free agents, other players that very well could be traded. And I mean, talk to me on opening day. If it still looks like this, I'll probably be singing a different tune. But I still have hope that there's
Right.
lots of opportunity left. It's just make it happen, guys. I mean, so far we've seen a couple of infield singles in Robbie Ray and AJ Cole, and that's about it. So
Yep.
give us a home run or two.
And so for all of our people listening and watching at home right now on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, you see why Karen's show on our YouTube channel will be called The Sunny Side of the Dome, right? It's logic, intelligence, and positivity. It's a very unique combination. Steve, I'm going to throw it to you. Why are the Toronto Blue Jays whiffing? And you can't tell me, because Karen's right. You can't tell me that they're idiots or they're morons or they don't know what they're doing, right? Because I know, like, they're not doing anything or they haven't done anything yet that has resulted in a deal, but they're not stupid. So, Steve, why is Toronto finding it so hard right now?
Well, I think that they're taking an approach where they're trying to put their eggs all in one basket. And everything else you're just not really paying attention to. It's almost like, in Bonanza, they used to hit Haas with a chair, and he wouldn't react right away. But then he'd be like, hey. And that's what's the matter?
Timeout.
Okay.
Bonanza.
It was a TV show before the Blue Jays got expanded into existence. Actually, before the Seattle Pilots got expanded into existence, there was a show called Bonanza.
I've heard of it, Steve. I'm not sure why that was your example.
Well, the example is that Ross Atkins is getting hit with chairs, and he's not reacting fast enough. Okay, I was trying to be nice, trying to be polite, but okay, you want to egg me on, fine. Ross Atkins is not paying attention. Everything is, it's like when you have, of course, this never happened to me, but you have a woman that's just wonderful, and she just lavishes you with praise and just follows and just. Really that's the person for you, but you have a fixation on this person that is in her mind, visualizing a reaping into your chest, pulling out your heart and showing it to you. That's basically what's happening right now with the Blue Jays front office. Obviously, my show obviously is not going to be for young kids, so we'll put that thing in there too. But I want to give a little bit of a history lesson without going to be too long-winded about it. This happened with this team in Cleveland. In 2007, they put on, and they really had no right to be competitive, and they almost won a wild card back when there was only one wild card. They didn't do much in the offseason. They thought they already had their core, so they kind of just flitted around with edges and signed, really second-rate bullpen help and things like that because their bullpen was always horrible. They fell down to 74 wins, and then in 2009, they won the NL Central. But then after 2009, they just did the same thing in the offseason. Well, we really have a core, and we just need to add little things here and there. And they were allegedly in on all these big free agents, even though Cleveland had no money, because 2 years later they had to trade CC Sabathia. For me, it's a repeat of history, and I think that's why, I'm reacting as vitriolically as I am, because I've seen this play out before. Okay, but the Indians, okay, they're a fun team to go sit in Progressive Field, great place to watch a ball game. But when it's the team that you live and breathe with, okay, I mean, I go back to the expansion days, okay, when they were really, really bad, and I remember the first game almost getting snowed out. I mean, I go back again, Bonanza. I go back. Okay, I'm old enough to remember these things. And I see it happening again. And having lived in Pittsburgh and seen another part of that front office totally sit on his hands and destroy what should have been a sustainable team with the Pirates of the mid-2010s, from 13 to 15, 16. I see it happening again. And, it's like PTSD. I mean, it's just, oh, my God, please no. What they put together, as they did in Cleveland, was a great core. What they have in place now is tremendous for such a short period of time. But I really think they're gonna wither away. They're gonna make the same mistakes, try to be the smartest guys in the room, and that's it.
Right. Okay.
We'll be trading Bo Bichette and Vladdy and Kevin Biggio for other Met castoffs.
Well, then, there you go. Karen, did you want to respond before I...
Rebuttal. Toronto was not Cleveland. Realistically, can Cleveland go out and spend big money on top-tier free agents? I think we all know the answer to that. And this is the argument that I made when Shapiro and Atkins took over, that a lot of people were like, oh yeah, look what they did in Cleveland, blah, 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 they're just going to destroy this team. Toronto was very different. I mean, they bring their experience and their intelligence to this organization, but they're backed with a lot more resources, with a lot more money. So I believe, and I mean, it started last year with Ryu, And I believe that when the time is right, when the opportunity is there, that they will add. So
Fair enough. Fair enough. And you two are in for a treat. Bringing back on the Jays from the Couch podcast in episode 244, we're bringing back an old segment, and it's our hot takes. We're going to make it hot in her. So I'll start because I think this is my hot take was, and our conversation kind of led to it. But very simply, my hot take is that Shapiro and Atkins are too smart for their own good. They're slaves to their plan. They have this idea that we will not overpay. We will not do X, Y, and Z. We will not give up X, Y, and Z, whatever it is. And it's actually backfiring in my mind. As of right now, of course, as Karen said, that they could do something crazy, just like they did last year, signing Ryu. They could still do things. I get it. But for right now, it really feels like to me that they have this idea of what is fair value for every player. And, I imagine tons of whiteboards and names and all that stuff. I get it. I don't think they're sitting on their hands and just waiting for something to fall in their laps. But I wonder if their approach is actually shooting themselves in the foot, because you got nothing to show for all of your effort. And if you're putting this much effort in and you're striking out that much, I think that it's time to maybe reevaluate your approach at the plate. That's my hot take. They're too smart for their own good. I'm just going to leave it there. I believe in them as Karen does. I believe this front office has the ability to make Toronto a winner, to bring a championship to Toronto. I really do, because the resources are there. But in order to do that, the Toronto Blue Jays are going to have to do what they've always had to do, and they are going to have to pay more on the dollar than other teams. Whether it's right or wrong, whether it's valid or invalid, it doesn't matter. The Blue Jays are going to have to pay. And it may be more than they planned on paying. Oh, well. If you're going to have to eventually abandon your plan if your plan's not working. But that's my hot take. Too smart for their own good. Karen Sutar, your turn. What is your hot take?
right. So circling back to Francisco Lindor. I do like him. I respect him. He's done some terrific things in this game. He's a fantastic defender. He's a very good hitter, particularly when you compare him against other shortstops. I think in the long run, the Blue Jays will not hurt for having missed out on him. And the reason that I think that is I think they have a guy in Bo Bichette that has the potential to be better overall than Francisco Lindor. So I'm putting this out there. If Bo can stay healthy in 2021, he will have a better season than Francisco Lindor.
That is a hot take.
Take that, Steve Barassi.
Yeah. That's right.
So to answer your question, no, we don't need a shortstop. We have one.
So that's interesting. I here we are. Episode 244 of the podcast. We will come back to this at the end of the 2021 season, and we'll see if Karen was correct. It's a bold statement, Steve. Your hot take better be good, bud.
I say the Blue Jays and Action Atkins strikes out, whiffs on every major free agent that they've been linked to, that they're having, sorted relationships with, however they're doing it. Okay. They are going to, in our message board, I said they're going to strike out looking. I don't think that's fair. That's, even for me, that's not being fair. But they're not going to get any of them. All the trade people, the big names that are going to be out there, they're not going to get any of them. Because again, going sort of tied into your hot take, they think they're just too smart for the room. So my thing is multiple strikeouts. Okay, maybe they get like a bunt base hit, 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth of a no hitter, but they're going to whip and they're going to be scrambling come February. And I'm going to have my harmonica. We can have Karen practice her singing, her tune, and I will accompany her because unfortunately it's going to be a very, very long winter.
So the only thing I would say is I have two questions to that. First is what qualifies as the big targets?
Okay, well, obviously all the names you see on Twittersphere, and remember you can't spell Twitter without twit.
Mm-hmm.
So no LeMahieu, no Real Muto, no Springer, no Bauer, no Odorizzi, no Liam Hendricks, no Brad Hamps, no Brad Hand, no Alex Colomé, none of them, nothing, zero.
What about Luis Castillo from the Reds?
Well, again, I said all big trade pieces.
Yeah,
Castillo very well may be traded. That won't go to the Blue Jays.
All right. So then, what qualifies as scrambling in February? What are they going to scramble with? Are we going to see a steady stream of those minor league bullpen arm deals to shore that up, or like what do you see as scrambling?
Well, I think whatever's left over, basically whatever's there, they're going to have to make the best of a bad situation. Now, I will give them credit; they are good at doing that. As much as I still think they made a mistake releasing Daniel Vogelback, a couple of days after they picked him up, on waivers. Maybe they saw him at the buffet table and said, "Well, we can't afford to, feed this guy for the rest of the season." I don't know. I wasn't there. Okay, I wasn't there. I'm just saying. But so you're at third base, maybe it is you pivot back to Travis Shaw, which I would not mind. But in the pitching, you're going to have whatever is left over after all the smart GMs who aren't looking at this up in the mirror and saying, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the smartest GM of all? Okay, after that's all done, whoever's left, they will be able to. Nobody's going to watch my show now after this, but it's okay.
I will.
But I mean, I really think it's going to just be a bunch of retreads, and it's going to be the kind of guys that they had to sign in 16, 17, and 18 to kind of build the bridge over till when the core was up. That's my core belief of what's going to happen this winter.
Fair enough. Now, and it seems interesting to me that we're talking about all of these targets and stuff, and really the Blue Jays need pitching. They need pitching. They've needed pitching, and their sole addition is Robbie Ray, which yay. Let's walk everybody and hope we win that way. So anyway, we'll see if our collective hot takes prove to be true. We'll have to wait a little bit longer for Karen's, but it should be interesting. So once again, we're just about at the end of the show here, episode 244 of the Jays from the Couch radio podcast. Head to jaysfromthecouch.com for all of our offseason coverage. You've been doing that, and we appreciate it. So once again, I'm just going to give a little reminder. Karen Sutar, your show, Sunny Side of the Dome, on our YouTube channel and Facebook and all of that, of course. But Karen, let everybody know how they can follow you as well, please.
Yes, I'm one of those Twitter twits. I'm at Karen Sutar 1, Soutar 1, and I'm pretty much addicted to Twitter, so I'm on there frequently. And if you want to chat about baseball or anything else respectfully, then I'm there.
Beautiful. And look for her show, Sunny Side of the Dome, on the Jays from the Couch YouTube channel. Steve, the on-fec circle, I honestly cannot wait. It's going to be a show that people will not want to miss. Of course, we'll work out the day and time as well, but it will be on our YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter channels as well. But Steve, let everybody know how they can follow you.
You can follow me on Twitter also at US of Jays. And again, you're not a twit, Karen. Okay, even the
Thanks,
Fox
Dave.
even the Fox News channels have respectable voices and guests on sometime. Okay, so you are the lone voice in the wilderness on Twitter. Okay, so just want to make sure I keep that clear. You can also go to the US of J's Facebook page. I'm trying to engage as many US based and even international Blue Jay fans as I can. I know you're out there, and it's sometimes I think people say, who's your favorite team? Blue Jays. No, say it proud. Okay, it's okay if your friends are all Yankee fans or Red Sox fans or Dodger fans or whatever they are. You're a Blue Jay fan. Let us know about it and be proud. Also, wear a mask.
Absolutely. And I don't know that it's okay if all of your friends are Yankees fans. I think you need to reevaluate some stuff if that's the case. But
Need a
anyway.
few new friends.
Yeah, exactly. All right, that brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you both for joining me for another great episode. It was a lot of fun, as always, for our viewers and our listeners. Don't forget YouTube, subscribe, hit that like button or whatever it is that the younger cool YouTubers say. Do that. And of course, our Facebook page, Jays from the Couch, and on Twitter as well, at Jays from Couch. Excuse me. Don't forget the audio version available on Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher. Everywhere you find a podcast, you'll find the Jays from the Couch radio podcast. Give us a subscribe there as well. So for Karen, for Steve, for everybody, for Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro, this is Sean Doyle, hoping life gives you a juicy fastball down the middle and you don't miss it. Take care.
Though you will.